So we were talking to people, every time we introduce another competency, I always like to tie it back to the value equation. Remember, part of being emotionally expensive is lack of fluency. If you're emotionally expensive, you're lacking fluency in one of these 5 competencies. And so when you look at increasing your value, the best bang for your buck is decreasing your emotional expensiveness. The best way to do that is get fluent in 5 competencies, and that's where accountability, reality-based thinking, organizational alignment, capitalizing on change, and driving for results. Those are really the keys to being a high-value player in any situation. And I introduced this by saying this is probably the toughest thing I'm going to talk to you about. So everybody get in touch with your egos right now and just take a listen as I go through this. One of the things that is very confusing to people is organizational alignment. And alignment really is the ability to say yes to the organization and to deliver on what the organization needs. In fact, that's how we measure performance. Are you delivering on what the organization needs? And if you're in a position where you're always arguing with reality in the organization, you have no chance of delivering with what it needs. And so a big part of alignment is the ability to say yes to what's next, also a big part of change. So I'm just connecting the dots for you guys here. So we're going to talk about organizational alignment. And one of the things that I hear often from people is that they want to be consulted. They're very frustrated when they aren't consulted. They want to be part of decisions. We've even lied to people to say, let's ask the people nearest the work. And we've had this whole conventional wisdom that they would be the experts and they would know what's true. But what's changed for us today is most decisions are not made even inside the organization. Where are most decisions made from? Healthcare. Who makes decisions in your world? The board of directors, the senior team, the government, the regulators, the customers, the payers, the marketplace. So unlike any other time I've ever seen before, so many decisions aren't even made within inside the 4 walls that we have. And so if you're always wanting to be consulted, you're feeling more and more displaced. You're feeling more and more left out, just because reality is changing. Now, how do you sort this through about where I can add value? Because the first thing you want to do when you're adding value and you want to align and say yes is look for where I could add value. Is it my opinion? Is it, making it work? Is it, what role am I playing here? Because our role is always to find value. So how I help people differentiate this is that there are a variety of roles you can play. You've got to get good at quickly identifying where you can add the most value. And that's a lot of times your alignment. So how does this work out? A lot of people, will come up to me and they'll say, do you want my opinion? Or even on some of our engagement surveys, we talk about my opinion should count. I'm like, stop telling people that. When people say, do you want my opinion? I often say that depends. Now, the first thing I do is I try and help people understand the difference between opinion and expertise. Opinions are usually used without a good motive. They're the ammunition of the ego. So opinions are usually used to stop the action. Do you want my opinion? That won't work. Expertise is usually used to drive things forward. Do you want my expertise? There's a risk we haven't yet identified. I know about that. I can help mitigate that for you. Let me show you how. So expertise comes after saying yes, here's how. Opinion is no. So when people say, do you want my opinion? I also say that depends. Your expertise would be probably more helpful, but your input depends on where we are in the decision-making process and what your role is. And so if you were just to start this clean and keep it simple, I would say when it comes to organizational alignment, your first job is to figure out what role you're playing so you know how to play it well and add value. Has the decision been made? If somebody says, no, the decision hasn't been made, I still say, well, it still depends. Are you the decision maker? The decision maker is the person who can say yes and or no. Most of us try and be the veto player, which isn't the decision maker. The decision maker can say yes and or no. And if you're not the decision maker, are you the consultant? Consultants do not tell us what to do. They tell us what we could do. Consultants give a lot of options. What is it you want to create? I want to take training back to my organization. Great. Here's some many ways you could do that. I'm a consultant. If I start saying the only way you can do that is, I'm out of my role as a consultant. Now, most decisions in our organization have left us in a role that most of us are unfamiliar with. And if you want to be high value, you have to get good at playing the role of being a good person to inform. So how many of you think you're a good person to inform? And do I have any fear coming to you and telling you about a major change in our program? What do you think? Are you great at that? Do you go, oh my gosh, like, good to know, thanks for letting me know, how can I help? Most of us are pretty crappy to inform people, right? We go through surprise, panic, and blame. We're like, what? I wasn't consulted. Most of us have to practice being informed, and the more you practice, the more you will find you might love this role.
What do you mean by practice being informed?
Practice being good at being informed. So when people come up to you and they go, hey, things are totally different this afternoon.
Do you mean that you make it, or do you mean, oh yeah, I already know?
No, good to know is one of my favorite responses because it just keeps me neutral.
Okay.
Good to know. Thanks for letting me know. I find the better I am at being informed, the more information I get. Yeah, I could ask my staff, are you guys frightened when you have to come and tell me something's changed? You can be honest, like, hopefully I'm pretty good at being informed. Hopefully I'm like, my kids have given me enough practice that, hey mom, something happened tonight. And then instead of me freaking out. So, to get back on track with this and make it short, get good at being informed, and so being informed is where most of us need to improve our play. And it's also the position that's going to probably be most used as we move forward. Now the reason I bring up these three roles, other than what was just presented, is I want you to know that no matter who you are, you will play all three of these roles. The problem and the waste comes in when you play the wrong role for what the situation merits. A lot of us want to bend reality and say, I want to make that decision. We can't. So the example I use is if I am a physician and a patient has cancer, I, as the physician, am not the decision maker the patient is. So I will say to the patient, let me talk to you about a diagnosis we believe we're making. You have this type of cancer. Now, that patient's the decision maker. They will quickly go, if it was your mom, what would you do? If I'm a good physician, I have to say out of decision making. I have to say, I'm not your mom. It's not my life. It's not my values. I don't share your religion. I can't possibly make a decision on what you want. But I can be a good consultant. You can have palliative care. You can have hospice care. You can have active treatment. You can have, I give you all your options. You choose one. I don't judge it. I go, great. You say, I want to go home on hospice. I go, let me arrange all of that. That's my role as a consultant. 2 weeks later, you hear about a new study. You call me up. You go, I want active treatment. And I'll go, are you kidding me? I made all these phone calls. I already did all the work to get you set up on hospice. You can't switch now. But many consultants get upset when reality changes. No, a great physician just says, let me get that set up for you. 2 weeks later, you want to go on palliative care? You know what my role is? Here to help. I'll get that set up. My staff's role is to be informed. Make these calls, set that up. Well, she should not be doing that. Yep, let's stop judging, start helping. It's not our care. This implies good boundaries. So, get good at being informed. Once a decision's made, we only have the option of using our expertise to make it work. Now, a lot of people go, so you don't want my feedback. Feedback, when it's given right here, before you've done everything to make it work, is called resistance. It is not feedback. Feedback comes from credible witnesses who have used their expertise to make it work. Then they batch process, and after they've made it work, they're credible witnesses, and they come back and they say, if you want to do it faster, better, cheaper, we have some ideas for you. That's feedback, is how we can keep the action moving forward. And so a lot of times, people think feedback is saying no. Feedback is actually saying yes, here's how, and then here's how you can do it better than ever. And so the crucial point is two things: getting comfortable with this role and being able to say yes and move from opinion to expertise. Does that help a little bit to hear that? So questions on that type of model? Yes?
I have a question. When you talk about being informed, if the decision has been made, you talk about, you say good to know. Part of I think that the role as informed is to understand what your role is going to be. Are they asking you to do something? Are they just telling you this was going to happen in case somebody asks you? So you might say good to know, or you might say, hey, you know what? Can I ask you some questions? I don't understand this. So it's really to make sure that you're truly properly informed. Am I correct?
And I love that because for those of you that will be with us for business readiness, it really is, instead of just getting aware, it's really iterative on how can I adapt. And so I love that. I would just watch your motive. If your motive is resistance in the form of a question, then, well, I have just a couple of things to be informed. Who made the decision, and did you think about this, and did you think? Otherwise, it's like, oh, we're going IPO. I have some questions, some timing. I want to make sure, I know we're rolling out training in June. Is this going to be going on during that time? That's the accountable stuff. Absolutely. Any other questions on that piece? And then I talk to people about getting skillful in this role, frees you up and frees your talent up to do meaningful work. And if you think about people like what Daniel Pink said in Drive, that motivation comes out of doing meaningful work. Most of the time, our fight to stay consulted on these decisions that we can't have a big impact on takes our energy away from doing meaningful work. So what I've found out in my life is that the more I can free up by letting go of control of or need to be consulted, the more I can take my energy and put it into things like writing books, thought leadership. And I get asked all the time, how do you do it all? But I have literally removed myself from many decisions every day in life. So people are like, what are you doing tomorrow? I'm like, I don't know. I have to check my phone. And my team will tell me that more than likely I'm going to be here by 9 o'clock tomorrow. And so that's important stuff. And then a story I tell a lot is about my getting ready in the morning. If you just look at the amount of time you waste by insisting that you're consulted, even when you're not the expert, you'll be shocked in your daily life. So as you get the advanced part of this, I notice how Richard and I get ready in the morning. Richard gets dressed and goes down and drinks coffee and has time to read through blogs and Facebook and the paper. And I am up in my closet. I used to believe I had a right to be consulted on what I would wear for the day. And so I would consult myself. And it would be 45 minutes of put an outfit on, take an outfit off, hang it on the treadmill, put an outfit on, take an outfit off, hang on the treadmill. Eventually I would get to work dressed. But I wasn't dressed in the best looking outfit. I usually was dressed in the outfit I ran out of time in. It didn't improve my quality, it didn't improve my looks, and my room was a mess. So I studied Richard. Richard doesn't believe he should be consulted on what he wears. He has let go of it. Our dry cleaner chooses for Richard what he will wear every day. Rich goes to the dry cleaning bag and he says, what should I wear today? And the dry cleaner answers with what is next in the bag. And Richard immediately puts it on and he walks out the door looking just fine. Even when he shops for clothes, he doesn't believe in being consulted. He literally just goes online and buys 4 shirts, 4 pants, he just really goes for simplicity. I decided to do what Richard does. I no longer consult myself on what to wear in the morning. I go to my dry cleaning bag and I take what's next. It fits. It's hard to gain that much weight in a week. It's always clean, right? And it's pretty easy stuff. That decision alone to stop consulting me on what I wear, except for mornings I have plenty of time, has saved me about 45 minutes a day. Think about you getting yourself out of this, I must be consulted, what that might do for you. Does that make sense to you guys? So just some fun on that. I elaborate on that because that's the hardest model that you'll get beat up on a lot. So.